against the proposition which is before the House today. Deputy Speaker, I have some background in these matters. I've had many jobs in my life before I came to work in this place. I worked as a community worker for many years. I worked with people with disabilities for many years. I worked in bars and clubs and restaurants. I was a lawyer for many years, Deputy Speaker, and I also had the great privilege of running a union for about 5 years. I was the National Secretary of a union that employed some 200 people and had...
remain quiet.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I have some knowledge and background into these matters, Deputy Speaker, and what I can say is the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of union members and union officials in this country turn up to work every day attempting to do their very best to represent the men and women that they are in charge to represent, and to do their best to ensure that they can protect and advance their wages and conditions and their rights at work. Deputy Speaker,
Order. The member for you. Order. The Leader of the Opposition was heard in silence. You are testing my patience, repeatedly interrupting the member for Throsby. The member for Throsby has the call and will be heard in silence. The member for Throsby.
Deputy Speaker, my rough count leads me to say that there is around about 116 federally registered organisations. And the motivating force, Deputy Speaker, the motivating force behind the Leader of the Opposition bringing this bill before the House today is supposed to be some wrongdoing within 3 organisations. 116 registered organisations. They've found 3, and that's moved them to bring these new provisions before the House today. Well, if you listen to the speeches, Deputy Speaker, you can understand that their motivation has got nothing to do with these organisations and their goings-on. It's got everything to do with political motivations, Deputy Speaker. I want to make it quite clear, as somebody who is a life member of my union, and I know those opposite expect us to shrink whenever they point to members on this side of the House and call us and say that we're members of the union. They expect us to shrink and say that we're somehow ashamed of this. I do no such thing. I do no such thing, Deputy Speaker. I'm very proud of the fact that I've spent many years of my life dedicating my time and efforts, alongside many others alongside me, to advance and protect the rights and conditions of Australian working men and women at work. Deputy Speaker, it would make as much sense, Deputy Speaker, for us to visit upon every corporation in the country new and draconian provisions because of a bankruptcy, because of corruption in a company, because of some malfeasance in a company. We do not stand, Deputy Speaker, on this side of the House and say, because of the shenanigans that saw the collapse of OneTel or HIH, that we should have this radical overhaul of the corporations law, Deputy Speaker, because we knew there were some crooks and some wrongdoings going on in those organisations, but we don't use that as a justification to do some massive overhaul of the corporations law in this country, Deputy Speaker. I have some experience in this country, in this area, Deputy Speaker, and I know that the vast majority of men and women who go to work every day as union members or union officials do so with the very best intentions at heart and attempting to discharge their duties in protecting their members' wages and conditions and advancing those and to bring about a fairer and juster workplace and society. They do that with the very best of intentions, and they see these sorts of attacks that have been made by the Leader of the Opposition and the Deputy Leader of the Opposition as nothing more than an attack on the institution of unions as a whole. Deputy Speaker, there is strong regulations of unions under our existing law. That doesn't mean that there isn't room, as there always is, room for improvements. Indeed, this is probably one of the most contested statutes on the statute book of this federal parliament. Every single election since Federation, has been fought out around the issues of the Fair Work Act and its antecedents. So it doesn't surprise us on this side of the House, Deputy Speaker, that the Leader of the Opposition seeks to bring this matter into contest in the lead-up to this election at all. However, I am surprised, Deputy Speaker, at one thing. In his contribution to this debate, Deputy Speaker, he sought to ridicule the Maritime Union of Australia and the Prime Minister's attendance at a Maritime Union of Australia event, and he tried to somehow ridicule them all as lawless thugs, Deputy Speaker. Can I make this point? Can I make this point? The single biggest scandal, the single biggest finding against the highest court, from the highest court in this land in relation to the maritime industry of this country was found against that side of the House when they were in government in the conspiracy by Patrick Stevedores and the then Minister for Workplace Relations against the men and women who worked for Patrick Stevedores and were members of the Maritime Union of Australia. So I was surprised indeed that the Leader of the Opposition would stand in this place and seek to ridicule and somehow poke fun and suggest that there was lawlessness when the biggest finding of lawlessness in this country's history was found against those on the other side of the House. And he was a minister, the Leader of the Opposition was a minister in that government and a champion for what they were doing, Deputy Speaker. It really does beg a belief that he would have the hide to come in this place and move this bill, given his background and his form in this area. It should be rejected.